Hi friends, welcome back to Foster Care Friday. This week I'm going to be talking about what are the requirements for relicensure. So in my state, the state of North Carolina, foster parents have to relicense every 2 years. And my husband and I are starting to approach that 2-year mark. We're starting to think about relicensure and take the steps that are needed for that. So I thought I would just discuss it briefly with you all. If you're interested in that, then stick around. But first, if you're new here, my name is Anna Leonora, and together with my husband, Jason, we are foster parents in real life. And here on my channel, From the Fosters, we do foster parenting life together, and we raise awareness for the foster care system. So if any of that interests you, please consider liking this video, subscribing down below. There's Norman. So that you can follow along and join my growing family here on YouTube. Say hi to Norman. I am currently sitting on the floor of my foster son's bedroom. Hi. Because I have quite a bit of cleaning to do today. So I did take the day off work today. We had court for one of our cases, and I, in the interest of privacy, will not at this time discuss what happened in that court hearing. However, they did want me to testify to the child's needs. So I did that, and I am taking the rest of the day off because we also have something else happening this afternoon for one of our kids that I want to be able to attend because it's kind of a celebration of sorts. So, yeah, I'm off work today. I'm sitting on the bedroom floor because in between these events, I'm going to be cleaning the house. And this room, there are toys everywhere. So anyway, excuse me sitting on the floor. You may see the cats walking in and out. We'll just see how this goes. So I will preface this by saying, like I do in a lot of my other videos, every state, county, and agency are going to have different requirements for licensure and relicensure. So what is required by my county, my agency, is different than what is required for other people who live in my county, but they're through a different agency. There are some things that are standard across the board, but there are also some things that are different. So I'm going to tell you what is required in my county with my agency, and just keep in mind that it does vary. So if you are not familiar with what is required to become a foster parent, I will link that video down below. It's usually in my description boxes of my videos. I think it's 7 requirements for becoming a foster parent is what it's called, but it'll be linked down below if you're interested in referencing that video. But for relicensure, it's basically a lot of the same as licensure. So we have to have home studies completed. Our licensing worker comes quarterly, so she comes 4 times a year to check our home out, make sure that it meets agency requirements, and is up to agency standards, agency and state standards as a foster home. And so that happens. We have to have a physical from our primary care doctor filled out. Now they want you to have your physicals yearly, but they only require proof of them every 2 years for your licensure. So your doctor has to fill out what your medical conditions are, what medications you're on, and then sign something saying that in their medical opinion, you are physically and mentally capable of caring for children. So we have to have that. You have to submit proof of your vaccinations being current. You have to do another fire inspection. So our fire inspection is due every 2 years, which is where a fire marshal comes out, walks your home. They're looking for very specific things like, do you have fire alarms? Are they in good working condition? Do you have a carbon monoxide detector? Do you have a fire extinguisher in your home? Do you have fire ladders? If you have an upstairs to your home, a fire ladder that can go out a window and allow people to escape that way in the case of a fire, things like that. No obvious fire hazards in the home. We have to submit proof that our pets are all up to date with their vet examinations and vaccinations. We have to submit state criminal background checks every 2 years, which includes fingerprinting. So every 2 years, you have to do your fingerprints and submit for a state background check. I'm trying to think. Oh, and continued education. So to become a foster parent through my agency, we had to do 30 hours of classes. Those classes are called different things in different states. I've heard it called Pride classes. I've heard it called something else that I can't remember right now. But in my state, we call it TIPS MAP, which is TIPS-MAPP, which stands for something along the lines of trauma-informed parenting, something model approach to partnership and parenting, something like that. But it's a 30-hour course that you're required to take and pass to be a foster parent. So to relicense, we do not have to do that whole class all over again, but we are required to have continuing education hours, which for my agency is 20 hours for every 2 years. So you can do 10 hours one year, 10 hours the next, or you can do all 20 in your first year or all 20 in your second year. You just have to have 20 hours every 2 years. I have heard of other agencies requiring 22 hours. I've heard of other agencies requiring 25 hours. It really just depends. My agency only requires 20 hours of continuing education. My agency does offer continuing education. They also provide us resources of places that we can get continuing education elsewhere. We were doing in-class 2-hour in-class training sessions every quarter before COVID. And so my husband and I were able to attend a couple of those, and then COVID hit, and yeah. So now I did the majority of our training hours through a trauma-informed conference that I was able to virtually attend, and that was really informative and awesome. But anyway, continuing education hours. You also have to keep up a CPR and first aid certification. Yeah, certification. So my husband and I I was already previously CPR certified because I'm a nurse, but we did the CPR and first aid certification course together in June of 2019. So we now are due by June of 2021 to do it again. So we will do it again prior to our license renewal. And I think those are kind of the big highlights. And then our social worker will just sandwich all the information together. I think we also have to have proof of like our finances, if anything has changed in our financial status. Like, my husband and I have both had raises in the last couple years. So our finances are a little bit different than when we originally licensed. But yeah, I think that's kind of the big high level stuff. It's a nice big packet of paperwork that we have to take to various places, like to go get our fingerprints, to go to our doctors, to get the vet to sign off for our pets. And you just have to kind of go and do these things and get it all together. You have to go do your relicensing or recertification for your CPR and first aid. You have to get all of your certificates for continuing education stuff together, and then you submit it to your licensing worker and they will submit it to the state for you. So it is paperwork and it is a process, and it can be a pain, but ultimately it's worth it. We have kids in our home that are pre-adoptive that we love and want to be able to adopt and keep, and it would be a big disruption for them to have to go elsewhere. So we're going to do what we have to relicense. Of course, our license isn't expired for several more months. We're just trying to get the ball rolling on it now. So relicensure is very similar to licensure. There's just a little bit of difference. Namely, that difference is in the classes and the education courses. So the classes for initial licensure was 30 hours of organized classroom time. And then for relicensure, it's 20 hours of continuing education, which you can get in various settings. So I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions about relicensure. If you are a more experienced foster parent and you have any tips on relicensure, let me know down below because we are starting that process. And this is our first time having to relicense versus just our initial licensure. So if you have any tips for me, I'm always open to those. And if you have any other ideas or topics, things you want us to talk about pertaining to foster care, foster parenting, foster to adopt, anything like that, just let me know. Otherwise, thank you for joining me on this Foster Care Friday. I hope you all continue to go out and shine your light into the world. And until next time, y'all, have a wonderful weekend.